Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to another edition of the Biohacked Life podcast. This is episode 11 with one of my, I keep saying good friends, but this really is one of my really good friends. I have to first off apologize because, this is the third time, I think, that we've scheduled a podcast, but we're actually sticking to it this time. We're actually going to record. Just scheduling and all that. This is one of the busiest men I know.
So it's my fault.
But I the last two times I admit have been my fault. I have no problem admitting that. But guys, this is Pastor Jakavious Pickett. Welcome, Pastor. How are you today?
I'm good. My name is Jakavious Pickett, and I'm a pastor.
That's right. He is also a pastor.
No, I'm not. I'm not big on titles. That's all.
Right. So, met this guy about a year and a half ago. Has it been a year yet?
Yeah, it's been over a year. Probably about a year. Yeah, it's been about a year.
About a year now. And just hearing him talk and kind of seeing who he was in the community, I was like, this is a guy that I got to get to know. And actually, we were in the gym one day, and he came over to me, and we'd been on a couple conference calls at this point together. We'd never met in person. He came over to me, and I was like, yes, let's go sit down. Let's go have coffee. Let's talk. Let's just connect, man. And I can honestly say this, one of the most amazing human beings that I've gotten the pleasure to get to know. He's got a phenomenal background, which we're going to go into today, and just where his heart is and what he's trying to do right now in the community and everyone around him, guys. That's what makes this man a special guy, and that's why I want to have him on today. So, welcome. First question of the day that I always love asking people is, what is something today you're grateful for?
I'm just grateful for the opportunity to be alive again. I'm just grateful to wake up. I know that sounds sort of cliche, but to be honest with you, before I can be grateful for anything else, I'm just grateful to wake up, because without waking up, I don't have the opportunity to do those things that I'm assigned to do today.
Right. Amen. All right. Here's the curveball question. If you had to have a walkout song for life, what would it be?
If I had to have a walkout song for life, what would it be? A
song that gets you going, gets you in the right frame of mind, just ready to conquer the world.
Well, I like trap music, so so it would probably be something T.I. I don't know. I'm a trap music guy.
Okay. Okay, I can dig that.
So I never really thought of a song. So I get back with you on that.
We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So one of the things I love doing is I want to talk a little bit about your background, because I think for people to understand where you're at today and all the amazing things you do in this world, they need to understand a little bit about why you're so passionate about those things.
Okay.
So for you, you're huge into personal growth. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we really connected on, was our almost addiction to becoming a better version of ourselves. Where did that start for you?
First of all, you heard me say a minute ago that I like trap music, but then prior to that, you heard Robby call me pastor. So where did it start for me? We have to first realize that we are human.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing with understanding personal growth, is first realizing you are human and you have flaws. With me, I did not want to be limited to those flaws. So I made up in my mind about 24 years old. I was very flawed, and I didn't want to be there. I did not want to be a statistic. I did not want to be another news article or news television news report. And I wanted to do something about my life and the life of those that I was connected to, and that was my wife and my children. So about 24 years old, I decided to say, you know what? I got a lot of flaws. I got a lot of mess ups. I need to seek some guidance.
What was going on in your life at that point?
Like I said, I was married. I had children, but I like to party. I like to party. I like to I had friends. I like to be out and about, and being a married man, being a father, that kind of stuff just didn't go hand in hand with it. It's not that you can't have fun, but there's limitations. It's not that I was out there cheating or anything like that, but there was no balance there.
Right.
So I needed to break that cycle. I needed not to be a statistic. So I say, let me see what this life that I've been given is all about.
Mm-hmm. So what did you like? Was there a breaking point? Was there a turning point? Was there an incident? Was there something happened?
No, nothing happened. I just saw my life. It was spiraling. You know, I was in the military. I had a steady income. Paycheck was good. You know, money was good. Got a beautiful wife. Got a dime piece.
She is beautiful.
Got a dime. You know, got a beautiful wife. Had two beautiful and healthy children. And it was just like, man, you know, I'm doing all of this, but I'm not really happy. I'm not really fulfilling no purpose. I'm not really doing anything. So I had to do something about it. And, you know, and that's when I decided to take a stand, you know, and seek some guidance.
Where'd you go for guidance?
Where did I go for guidance? The only place that I believe that you can go for guidance, truly, and that was to God. Why do I believe that? Because if I have this microphone right here. I'm not sure who made this. Oh, it's a Shure microphone. If I got this Shure microphone right here in my hand and something happens to this Shure microphone, am I going to go to Apple to get this phone fixed? This microphone fixed. Why am I not going to go to Apple to get this microphone fixed? The reason why I'm not going to go to Apple, number one, Apple did not create this microphone. Who am I going to go to? I'm going to go to Shure because Shure created this microphone. Shure got the blueprints for this microphone. Shure has the patent for this microphone. Shure probably still has the inventor of this microphone. So who can fix it? Sure. So I went to my creator. I went to God. I went to God, the person who created me, the person who invented me, the person who put purpose in me. I went and sought God and say, God, if you be really real, you've been the God that they've talked about, you be the God that I believe in. I need you to show me who I am, and I need you to fix me from the inside out.
What did that process look like?
That process is still in the process.
Yeah.
That process is still in the process, and a lot of people think, you know, especially from being a pastor, you hear a lot of people, well, you were born to do this, or I've been doing it. No, I didn't know I was born to do this. So it began with me reconnecting with my spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
It started with me reconnecting with my spirituality, having conversations with my wife, her reconnecting with her spirituality, getting our children involved in our spirituality, seeking out guidance, seeking out biblical principles, seeking out the presence, the true presence of the Spirit of God, and allowing that to lead us and guide us in the direction that He would have us to go.
Gotcha. So one of the things I want to talk to you about today that I love so much about your work is in the world of Christianity, in the world of being a preacher, I love how you bring together the concepts of personal growth with spirituality. I find like that's oftentimes a missing piece of the puzzle in a lot of churches and a lot of spiritual leaders is they're missing that personal growth factor. For you, why is that so important?
Because I just believe the whole basis of Christianity is around personal growth. I believe that. Christianity is based on being a follower of Christ. I don't like to compare it to a religion. A lot of people say Christianity is a religion. I believe it has been made to be a religion, but I don't think it was founded to be a religion. I think we're followers of Christ, and in that being a followers of Christ is personal growth. The Bible said in Him was life, Him being Jesus Christ, who we're followers, Him was life. So if we're going to have life, if He is life, and if we find life in Him, then we have to grow into that. He tells us in John 10:10 that the enemy, the thief, comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. How can we live that life? We have to grow into that. So I believe that the basis of all Christianity is about developing as a human, developing as a person, to reach the assignment that God has given you.
I agree. And the reason I agree is, yes, I believe that we're all born with certain gifts in this world.
Correct.
And we have to go through a refining process to really unravel the complexity of the world, to find those gifts and to utilize those gifts.
Correct.
And I believe that's our purpose in this world, is to use our gifts in the service of others.
Correct.
But you first have to find those gifts.
You have to find those gifts.
So you went on this process. So what's that process look like to finding your gifts? Like how do you find those? Because a lot of people out there, that are living in this subconscious world where they're just going through the daily mundane life, and they're wondering like, well, what are my gifts? What is my calling? What is my purpose? And I think it starts with your gifts. So what's that process look like to finding your
Yeah.
gifts?
And you know, conversations like this is you know, I really don't like having them, but I like having them. And the reason why I don't like having them is because there's so much skepticism in today's time when it comes to God.
Right.
But how does that process look, or how did it look to me? How did it look to me? First off, begin with prayer. I mean, I really had to pray. Had to pray like I've never prayed before. I had to do some soul seeking and soul searching to really understand who God was. Because even though I may have been raised in church, even though I may have been in Sunday school and vacation Bible school, I really didn't get the understanding and the concept behind all of that. So it really had to go in prayer, and then through prayer, it was in that the relationship development between me and my Creator, between me and God. It's almost like a hiring process. You know, you're not just gonna hire anybody without doing an interview. So, you know, so I began to interview God and, you know, ask God to show me this and show me that, you know, show me why I should do this, show me why should I trust him, show him why I should understand that was great. And he began to do that. So after building that relationship, it was more about fine tuning him being my creator and me being his created. You know, how can I find out what he has designed for all mankind to do, and then for me as an individual person to do? Make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, hey, reveal who I am.
Reveal who I am. Show me me.
Show me me.
Show me me. And then one thing you got to understand, and you got to be real ready for, is when you ask God to show you, you got to be ready for the good and the bad.
I think that's what a lot of people aren't ready for. And I think that's why a lot of people are scared to go to the level that you just talked about going. Because when you strip away all these walls that you've built up your entire life, whether it's partying or womanizing or alcohol or whatever addiction you have in your life to cover up what's really on the inside, when you start breaking down those layers and peeling back the proverbial onion, yes, it's going to reveal your strengths and it's going to reveal all these wonderful gifts you have. But it's also going to reveal those demons and those dark places. And that scares people. A lot of people that I run into, they hold up those walls because they're scared of being hurt. They're scared of the pain.
Right. And even though a lot of people are scared, it is scary. It is scary. It is a scary thing, but it's a helpful thing. The reason why it's a helpful thing, it's a scary thing, but it's a helpful thing. But the reason why it's a helpful thing is because it's a hopeful thing.
Right.
It's a hopeful thing because you begin to tear all of that down, and you begin to see and all of these inner demons and all of these things begin to unfold and be uncovered. And you ask yourself a question: if I am this bad, how am I still here? So when you figure out that if I am this bad, if I am this tore up, if I am this down, if I'm this deadbeat, how am I still here? That should let you understand that there is still purpose on your life, because anything dead should be buried. And because you're still here after seeing all of that, after having all of that stuff revealed to you, then you should know, man, there is somebody in here. There is somebody else in here that can still be used to change the world.
I agree. And it's just like, you know, I always relate this to video games. You can't get to the next level until you face the boss at the level.
Correct.
You've got to go through the challenge. You've got to go through that refining process of testing yourself and testing who you are in order to level up.
Correct.
And I think that's one of the greatest things that I've seen you be able to do is you're helping people do that. And you're helping them refine themselves. And one of the things I love about your words is a lot of times it's brutal truth.
Yeah.
And it's not sugar-coated. It's not like this, hey, it's sunshine and rainbows. No. It's, hey, you got to go through this process. You got to go through this. And only once you do that will it reveal who you are. So for someone out there that is saying, you know, I need to go through this process. And what's like step 1, 2, 3? We just talked about step 1. of you getting back to your spiritual life, getting back to the center of your world. But what's step 2 and 3 to that?
Step two, as I say, developing that relationship with God. But then after that, it's all about asking God to reveal you the true you, who you are. And the reason why you said level up a minute ago, and I began to pick up my phone because I ministered a message several months ago called Level Up, and I based it on the Sierra song. She got a song called Level Up. And I dissect these words, and I did this in a sermon. You know, I showed the video and everything on the screen.
Let's
and
have
all
it.
that. Yeah. And Sierra said this in her song. The first thing she said was, them old mistakes are gone. I won't do them anymore. That's old news. They're new news. I done did that before. I turned nothing to something. My comeback is 100. My comeback on 100. Less talking, more action. You just gonna see CC coming. I'll keep elevating. No losses, just upgrading. My lessons made blessings. I turned that into money. Thank God I never settle. This view is so much better. I'm chilling. I'm winning like on another level. And once you realize that what you were is not who you are, then that process can officially start. Because I said prayer, building a relationship, now recognizing who you really are so you don't get so caught up in the old things that you've been through that has held you down. And now you can start building a home. It's like this, man. I ministered this message on I've been doing a series since New Year's Eve night called Building for Better. And I remember when me and my family got our first home built. And when we got our first home built, we got it built from the ground up. Well, the spot that we picked for our house to be built had trees on it. It was a wooded area.
Mm-hmm.
It was a wooded area, right? So how can you put a home on a wooded area? The first thing that you have to do is cut down the trees. Now, cutting down the trees is not enough because now you're building the house on stumps.
Right.
Then, after you cut down the trees, you have to remove all the stumps from the ground. Now, before the trees are ever cut down, before the stumps are removed, you have to visualize this house. You have to see the house there before it's there. So, as it concerns you, you have to see yourself for who you are before you begin to uncover. That's why I say earlier, you have to be hopeful.
Right.
You have to be hopeful. You have to be hopeful. It's hurtful, but it's hopeful because you see what you can be. So after you take up those tree stumps, you start grading the ground and flattening out the ground, giving the surface a better level. And after you level it out, now you can start building your home. Now you level the ground out, but then you got to dig down in order to put the footing in for the house, in order for the house to be stable. And then you build that foundation and you build up. So once you realize who you are, understand that there is a lot of stuff that you got to go through, and it's a process, and it's a continual process, and the process plays itself out until you finally see that finishing point, what you saw in the beginning before while the trees were still there. Mm-hmm. And then now this blueprint that you had, that God showed you who you are, now you can begin to see it unfold, and then finally you can see it happen in the end. That's good.
I love that.
Man, that's good. I'm going to give myself an offering.
I'm glad we're recording this. I mean, it's 100% true. I mean, I just posted literally before you walked in the door to record this, my social media post today was you have to see it before you can seize it.
You have to see it before you can seize it. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're talking about just now.
Yeah.
You have to, when building a house, very first thing you do is make the decision. I want to build a house. Then you meet with the architects, engineers, all those guys before anything else actually happens.
Correct.
You got to like mentally, visually design this before you ever decide, hey, let me go cut down a bunch of trees and build a house. Like, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work.
So
can I say something right there? And that's the problem, Robby. That's the problem. Most people will never see it.
Why do you think that is?
And that's the danger. I'm glad you asked because I was going to tell you anyway. Most people never see it because of the atmosphere that's around them.
Environment.
The environment that they're in. You got people telling you who you are that don't even see what you can be. You got people around you saying, this is what you're going to be. You're never going to be that. And they're dictating your future, and you're allowing them to, and you're receiving everything that they're saying. And now they wonder, you get 40, 50, 60 years old, and you wonder why life passed you by. It's because the people that you had in your circle. Because the stuff, I call them nouns, person, people, places, and things. The people you have, the places you go, and the things that you allow to enter into you.
Boom.
Yeah, and then we wondering, why am I so unaccomplished? Because of the stuff that you got around you, because of the mess that you've allowed to dump on you, because of the clutter that you got in your mind. If you didn't have all that stuff, you wouldn't even have the clutter in the mind.
Right.
And now you can visualize and see where you're supposed to go. It's like a horse, it's like a racehorse.
Blinders.
Why you have to think a racehorse have blinders on? Why does a racehorse have blinders on? Because that jockey and that trainer have trained that horse to go in one direction, forward. And we don't want you not to go forward until we pull the reins on you. As long as those reins are loose, I need you to go forward. I need you to go forward. Why is the blinders there? Because if the horse look to the left or to the right, they can get distracted and lose focus and ultimately lose the race and ultimately lose that owner, that trainer, and that jockey millions of dollars.
Blinders.
People need blinders these days.
I agree. And
yeah.
I mean, I run this a lot with my world of coaching too. What's beautiful is we both work with people, so we're not just saying this because it sounds good. This is a truth of what we know from working with people.
Yes, sir.
And people are surrounded by a bunch of people who want them to stay in their comfort zone.
Correct.
Who want them to be no better than they are.
Correct.
And who want them to keep them down.
Correct.
Because that's where they are.
Correct.
And they're scared to get outside of that little comfort zone that they're in.
Correct.
So if they're scared to get out of it, they surely don't want you to get out of it.
It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. Their insecurities now follow over you, over to you. They don't really know. They just insecure about stuff.
Right. I think it was it might have been TD Jakes or I think it was him. I really think it was him talking about as you level up in life and as you increase in elevation, one of the things that happens is as you're trying to improve your life, as you're trying to grow who you are, you're increasing in elevation. But one of the things about increasing elevation is as you go higher and higher, the air gets thinner and thinner. Mm-hmm. And there's less oxygen in that air for people around you. Mm-hmm. And if all they're doing is sucking the air out of you, then eventually you're going to collapse.
The higher you go, the less people up there too.
100%. Yeah. There's less oxygen.
The less clutter.
Oh, yeah. And that's a beautiful thing.
That's an awesome thing.
That's a beautiful thing. But when it comes to, because we both run into that a lot, how do you prune your circle?
How do you prune your circle? It's easy, but it's hard.
Exactly.
The reason why I say it's easy, and it's easier for a person like me now than it was back then, because once you understand your value, you begin to devalue people less. Mm-hmm. What am I saying? Once you understand, not saying you don't need people. Not saying you don't need people. I believe all of us need somebody. And I believe that all of us was intended to have people in our life. But what I mean by that is once you understand your value, you really look at the value of other people. I know what I'm worth. So I don't go shop for people in discount stores. I know what I'm worth. I'm a white tablecloth person. So I believe my life is worth white tablecloth people. So I'm not going to shop in a discount aisle looking for the people that I place in my life. So if there's no value being added there, you have to say, is this for me? Is this person for me? Is this, or now, first of all, let me say this. Are you assigned to that life, first of all? Mm-hmm. Before you cut people off, are you assigned to help them? Or right. You provide more impact? Because you just couldn't cut people off because you may be assigned to help them out to pull them forward. But then if there's no assignment there, and they are causing more impact on you and more influence on you, you have to ask yourself, do I need this in my life? If I don't need it in my life, then guess what? Here go these scissors, cut it off. Cut it off, especially if they're pulling you down. Once you realize the impact, the influence that you have and the impact that you've caused to have, and it's more about you than it is them. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I learned in this past year called 2018. My downfall in 2018 wasn't losing a lot of stuff. It was trusting a lot of people. My downfall in 2018 was trusting a lot of people, putting my trust in people because of the position they were in, because of the things that I saw them doing in their own individual areas. And then I found out that their motives were selfish. They wasn't doing it for the benefit of the whole. They were doing it for the benefit of the individual. And the way I live my life, if I do it for the benefit of the whole, then me as an individual, I'm going to surely prosper.
Right.
But I trusted in people that didn't, they had value, but they wasn't trying to value the whole. So now I have to sit back and even, see, you don't cut off the people that just don't have anything going for themselves. You cut off people that got stuff going for themselves too. See, when we talk about cut off, we think we talking about cutting off the bum, cutting off the unemployed. No, sometimes you need to cut off the CEO.
Right.
I'm talking good right now. Sometimes you need to cut off the millionaire. Sometimes you need to cut off the doctor. Sometimes you need to cut off the person with 3-4 degrees. Sometimes they need to be cut off because they selfish. Mm-hmm. I hope the world sees this right now. Because they selfish, and it's a disservice to society to have influence and have value and be selfish.
100% agree with that. And it's true because like the way I look at it and the way I look at my circle is I simply say this to myself. I'm on a mission right now in my life. I have clear purpose. I sent you that about a calling earlier. Like I feel for the first time in my life, I know what my calling is and I'm on purpose. So I'm like a train heading in that direction. And if you want to jump on this train with me, you have to be adding value.
Correct.
Somewhere along this train track. And if you come on this train and you're taking coal or you're robbing from my train, you're not going to be on this train. And that's the way I have to look at it. Like, I'm going in this direction. If you're coming on this train with me, great. You're going to be adding value.
Correct.
Something good is going to happen from you coming on this train with me.
Correct.
But if you're taking anything away from this train ride, then you're not going to be on this train. Mm-hmm. There's too much in this world we need to do for you to be an anchor in my life.
Correct.
An anchor on this train.
Correct.
All right? So selfishness is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
Of anybody that I deal with, if you're selfish, that is the fastest way to get thrown off this train. Because so much of what we do is unselfish. And we're giving back, we're doing in the community, you're on like 1,900 boards.
I didn't cut some of them off too.
So like we're always giving back, we're always doing for others. So if I'm taking time out of my schedule to do that, but you're trying to steal time out of my schedule of me giving other people for your own selfish good, mm-hmm. I'm sorry. No, that's not how this works.
That's not how it works.
But you're more than welcome to come on this train and help me help others.
Correct.
That's how this is going to work.
Correct.
So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I'm glad you brought up the point too about cutting off people independent of their title, mm-hmm. independent of their value. Mm-hmm. It's a very simple equation. They're either adding to your life or taking away from your life.
And people with titles and money and influence can take away from your life.
100% they can.
Can take away from your life. I mean, because someone hadn't recognized their game yet. You know, you said something earlier, you talking about how we met. We actually probably met about a year and a half ago. And we was working on a project together. But then we actually didn't meet. We met via phone. Right. We actually didn't meet in person until probably about 6 to 8 months ago, somewhere in the spring, early summer. And the reason why we met, and I don't introduce myself to everybody. I really just rather be by myself because I'm an introvert. Um, but I saw him one day, and I said, "Man, this look like this guy that's been on this call with me because we sent, everybody was connected via social media and all that, but we never met." And I said, because of what I hear him saying, he's saying things that matter. I need to introduce myself to him. So the reason why I introduced myself to you, because what you were saying was right. And then after I found out not only were you saying it, but you were doing it, that opened up the door to say, okay, he is somebody I can get down with. Because he's not just talking, but he's doing it. And he's not doing it in a certain circle, he's doing it for the whole. And some of us will only do stuff for certain people because what I feel I can get this from this person, or I feel like they can help me with this, and we're not doing for the entire whole.
Right.
And that's caused we begin to use people for our upward mobility.
Mm-hmm. And I was listening to John Maxwell this morning. Did an interview with Ed Milet, and one of the things he said was, and I find this to be so true, we throw around the word good intentions all the time. Well, I wanted to do this. I wanted to help this person with this. I want to do this. But he said, good intentions don't matter. What matters is good actions.
Good actions.
And that's one of the things that I love about what you do is, while, yes, you do talk a big game, you immediately back it up. It's not just talking the game. It's, I'm going to do this. Yes, I am going to do this, and I'm going to say this. But as soon as I finish saying this, I'm going to do it. And I think that's one of the things that separates you from a lot of people out there, is that you are a man of action.
Man, I was talking to my mom and my sister last night, and my sister said this. She said, talk is cheap. And now that you say it, it comes back. And that's one of the oldest sayings that I've heard in a while.
Mm-hmm.
Talk is cheap, but it's so true. Everybody, for the majority, can talk, but not everybody can put that talk into action.
Right.
They can, but they don't. Talk is cheap. Anybody can talk. I can talk you. I can take over this podcast right now by talking. I won't let you say anything else. Talk is cheap, but am I being productive?
Right.
Is me taking over this podcast right now just talking being productive? No, it's not being productive, because God gave you this vision to create, and if I take over, I may not hit the points that you wanted to hit.
Mm-hmm.
Talk is cheap. Let's work vision.
It is. It is. Oh man, this is good stuff. I hope y'all are getting a lot from this. I know I am. I love, like, every conversation I have with this guy is just like this, and that's why I wanted to really have him on in this new year. All right, so we've gone through a little bit of refining process, and we've envisioned where we want to go. We envisioned what, how to utilize our gifts now in our authenticity. One of the biggest things I find, especially this time of year, we're recording this episode really in the second week of January. One of the things I find that people have the hardest time with is, yes, it's very easy to set an initial goal. It's very easy to get motivated in a time like now, January, new year, new me, all that crap that everybody always says this time of year. It's very easy to get started. How does somebody decide to make a decision, change their life, and then stick to it?
You sent me a text, and this is what I thought we were going to talk about. You sent me a text, and we were saying we were going to talk about calling as a purpose with the divine touch. My saying so far for myself this last few days is live in purpose. Live in purpose. Live in purpose. Not on purpose, but in purpose. Let's define this word in. I'm gonna pull up a dictionary real quick. In is a small word.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small word. IN, 2-letter word. Its definition is used as a function word to indicate inclusion, location, or position within limits. Inclusion, location, or position within limits. So when I say live in purpose, once you figure out your purpose, how you keep from falling off on these goals, resolutions, gimmicks, tricks, or whatever you want to call
Right.
it for the new year, how you keep from doing that is you position yourself in them. You don't try to accomplish them, because how you accomplishes them, you make them your way of life. There has to be a whole lifestyle change.
Right.
So when I talk about live in purpose, I have placed myself literally inside my assignment. There are limits now. There are boundaries now on what I can do, what I would do, what I should do, and how I'm going to do it. Anything outside of those boundaries don't have anything to do with my purpose. So when you set these goals, okay, just say if I'm going to lose 20 pounds, my goal for the new year is to lose 20 pounds. And you know, one of your demons is chocolate chip cookies, and every time you eat a chocolate chip cookie, you gain a pound. Then you got to place chocolate chip cookies outside that boundary. Just say you said in 2019 that I'm going to build a business, but you like watching Scandal. And every time you watch Scandal, you waste about 3-4 hours of your life, and then now it's time to go to bed, and you don't work on that business. Scandal now has to be placed outside of those boundaries, because you are living in purpose. Whatever is keeping you from accomplishing what you've been called and created to do has to be outside of those boundaries. You have to set boundaries, and you have to literally place yourself inside of those boundaries. I got dogs. Not all my dogs, and some of your viewers might call PETA on me. Not all my dogs live in my house, but they stay in my curtilage. They don't stay in not all my dogs. I got 2 dogs in the house. I got 1 dog outside the house. Not all my dogs are in the house, but all my dogs are on my property. They not on somebody else's property. They on my property. Why they on my property? Because they my dogs. So in the process of accomplishing them, guess what? In the process of accomplishing your goals, you got to make sure that everything that you own, your assignment, is inside those boundaries. Like my puppies are inside my boundaries. So guess what? It's my job to take. My neighbor got dogs. My neighbor on my right got dogs. He got 2 dogs. My neighbor on my left got 5 dogs. So in all, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 dogs that are within my reach. Guess what? It's not my job to take care of those other 7 dogs. It's my job to take care of those 3, because they're in my boundaries. So whatever outside the boundaries of your purpose, outside the boundaries of your goals and your resolutions for 2019, you don't have to worry about that. You take care of what you've been assigned to. I say it a lot.
No, I have a question for you. And I love that because I agree with that. And I have my own answer to this question, but I want to ask you. So you talked about staying on purpose. And basically what you talked about was aligning your decision-making model to your purpose.
To your purpose.
Does this get me one step closer to my goal, or does this get me one step away from my goal? And that's a decision you're making. So is this getting me one step closer to my purpose, or is this actually taking away from my purpose and making your decisions accordingly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Where in that equation is this interesting word that people love talking about called balance?
Balance is important. Let me tell you why balance is important. Man, I got a tough call. I got tough purpose. I got a tough purpose, and that's people. My purpose, ministry, is all about people. If you're not a people person, there's no way in the world you can accomplish this task called ministry.
Right.
So I pastor a lot of people, and a lot of that gets overwhelming. It gets overwhelming a lot. It's stressful. I left home this morning about 7:30, and I probably won't. Well, I'll see my house for a minute. I'm gonna go home as soon as I leave here, get freshened up and prepared, and then I'll leave and I'll go teach Bible study tonight. And then following Bible study, I'll sit there and mix and mingle with a few people, and then it's home. So I probably won't see home to maybe 10 o'clock tonight. However, on every other Wednesday, me and my wife have something to keep us balanced. So I've had a long day, right? So, and my day has been dealing with mostly people. So I haven't seen my wife today, and I had some unscheduled meetings that she didn't necessarily know about. So I get a text from her to say, hey, I thought we were going to be able to spend a little time together out there morning and meetings or whatever. Then Robby rescheduled on me. It's his fault. Uh,
Again.
uh, uh, so you have to find that time to take care of yourself and the people you love. So me and my wife do wing night on every other Wednesday. Every other Wednesday we go to wing night in Ocean Springs at wherever y'all know. I ain't gonna
Murky
tell you.
Waters.
Yeah, Murky Waters. So we go to wing night, and we enjoy each other. We sit there, eat wings, laugh, talk. Just enjoy each other. You have to have that balance because when you don't have that balance, what you're going through will stress you out, and it will cause burnout. You will experience burnout. And there was once a time that I almost experienced burnout. And then when you experience burnout, those around you are affected by it. Those closest to you are affected by it. So in accomplishing your purpose, make sure you have some time to breathe. Make sure you have some time to breathe because stress is real. Anxiety is real. Depression is real. All of that stuff is real. And you got to have balance because everything can always be focused on I gotta do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, this. Sometimes you just need to do you. So it's like a cheat meal. If you're on the diet, it's okay to have a cheat meal every now and then.
So how do you find that balance?
How do you find that balance? You find out what makes you happy without causing you to get outside of your purpose.
Okay.
Find out what makes you happy without getting outside of your purpose. So my wife makes me happy, right? But she's also in my purpose. Mm-hmm. She knows what I'm trying to do. She knows what I'm trying to accomplish. She knows what we're trying to achieve together. So guess what? She don't pull me out of my purpose. She assists me with breathing in my purpose. Now, they may be Joanne down the street who don't have nothing to do with my purpose. Don't understand my purpose. Don't have my best interest at hand. She just see this nice, handsome young fella from Crystal Springs, Mississippi. And she said, I need to get to know him because he seems successful. She's not in my purpose. Guess what she can do? She can pull me outside of my purpose, even though she can take me to wing night. But just because she can take me to wing night, mean I'm supposed to go to wing night with her? Because I may see Robby at wing night, and he'd be like, that's not Natasha. You see what I'm saying? And now my purpose is tainted.
Right. Okay, so I do want to touch on this now that you bring this up. So y'all are an amazing team. You and your wife are an amazing team.
We've been learning.
Well, we're always learning. If you ain't growing, you're dying. So y'all are an amazing team, and y'all work well together, and y'all are doing some special things together. What does that look like? Like how do you? I'm not gonna say how do you find that, but how do you work together? Like how do you get your spouse on board?
Communication. You communicate. It's all about talking, man. It's all about talking. It's all about talking. It's all about talking. It's all about communicating. Let them know what you want. See what they want. Can't be a one-sided conversation.
Right.
You got to let them know what you want, what you're trying to accomplish, and then you got to also ask them, tell me what you want. I mean, my wife got a 6-month plan right now. At the end of about 3 months ago, I had her. I said, hey, give me 3 things you want to accomplish within the first 6 months of 2019. Her reply to me, well, you give me 3 things you want to accomplish in 2019. The first 6 months of 2019. So you got to talk about it, but then you got to see. Not only you have to talk about it, but then you got to visualize it, help them visualize it if you're gonna be a team, because we're a team. If you look at right now in the NFL playoffs, we got how many teams left? We got 6 teams left. No, we got 8 teams left.
Yeah, I think
we got 8 teams left. Guess what? All of those teams have one goal, and that's what? Super Bowl. The Super Bowl. Everybody on each individual team has to have the same purpose, and let's go out there and play together for this Super Bowl. Let's play for this team. We're in Saints country. Let's play. Let's Cam Jordan can't be playing for Philadelphia this week. He got to be playing on the same team Drew Brees playing on, even though they play on different sides of the ball.
Right.
So they got to communicate. They got to talk. You got to visualize this thing and see it. Once you communicate, there's a visualization that goes on, and then there's a push. I can't let her quit and she can't let me quit. No matter what it takes, we can't let each other quit. I don't care how hard it get, it can't let each other quit.
I love that. And I also find like that's one of the biggest problems in any team, business, relationship, whatever it is right now in today's world is communication. People don't know how to transparently, honestly, accurately communicate what they're feeling, what they're thinking, what they're envisioning. They don't know how to do that. How can we become better communicators?
How we can become better communicators? First of all, you gotta be a listener. People don't know this. One of the first things in communicating is listening. Listening. Like Robby was just talking. I see my phone flash over here. I flashed him out for a second just to see my phone, and I almost missed what he said. But you got to be a listener. Now I'm in what we're doing right now. We're communicating. The whole purpose of this podcast right now is to do what? Communicate, to have a conversation. So you gotta be an active listener. You gotta be an active listener. You gotta be an active listener. And then you gotta be willing to accept truths. You gotta be willing to accept truth, because if you're not willing to accept truth, what you're listening to, you may not agree with. And what you don't agree with, you may get upset. And when you get upset and start voicing your opinion, and you can cause some distraction and the conversation ends. Mm-hmm. So you gotta be an active listener. You gotta be willing to accept truths, and then you gotta be willing to not get in your feelings. You gotta be willing to just allow the conversation to flow.
So actively listen, and then
accept truth.
Accept truth. I think that's a big one for people.
That's a big one.
Oh man, I actually had a conversation yesterday with one of my friends. She's a really successful businesswoman, consultant, and we were just talking about like the process of feedback. Mm-hmm. And I know I haven't been the best at it in the past. I'm very open to feedback in areas of my life, but there's some areas of my life where it hits me in the gut. But being able to, and like you said, not have your feelings hurt by getting feedback. I think that's what scares a lot. I think that's why a lot of people aren't vulnerable in their communication. They're not honest with their communication because they're scared of what's going to get said back to them. They're scared of what the other person might say that might potentially not align with how they see themselves or how they envision their world going. And I think they're just scared to communicate because of that, which they don't understand. That's what's keeping you from your next level.
Correct.
Is honest feedback from people.
Honest feedback.
And that's part of your circle too.
That's part of your circle. I mean, it's like going to school. I mean, you can never learn if the teacher never put a red X on your paper. You can never learn. How do you know if you're right or wrong if the teacher never put an X on your paper?
Right.
It's okay to be wrong sometimes, because sometimes you got to be wrong in order to get it right.
Yeah, I mean, what they said, the obstacle is the way, massive failure is the way to success. Yep. And I think that objective feedback is really important. I mean, I love it. I ask one of my business partners, I'm Joe all the time. Like every time I go speak on stage, I'm like, all right, bro, what can I do better?
I ask my wife that every week. How did I do? Every week. How did it go?
And we don't want to. You did fine, honey. No, we don't want that. Like that helps me none. I need to know what I actually can improve on, so next time that I'm in that situation, I can give my best self.
Yeah, because in the business I'm in, people be shouting and yelling and screaming, and then they go right back out there and do the same thing that you told them not to do. I mean, I'm just being honest.
Oh, I know.
People gonna be able to view this right.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
They be shouting and jumping and all that, and then they go back out there and do the same thing. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
Because until stuff really happens, until people really see themselves, they, it don't. People never overcome. You got to make an executive decision to overcome, and most times people not gonna quit until stuff just severely happens in their life.
Until they're backed into a corner or against the wall and they have to.
Yeah, and then when they come out, most times they're gonna go right back.
Oh yeah, I know. They get back to what they think is their comfort zone. And then as soon as they get back to their comfort zone, then they just allow, because, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's because they don't know their self-worth.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
They don't know the potential of what their self-worth could be.
Correct.
If they would open their eyes to who they were created to be.
Correct. They value. They have not found the true value of themselves. So they discount their lives and go back to living that same lie again.
I think one of the most powerful things I've heard in the past year that really hit me was no matter how big your vision is for your life, it still pales in comparison to what you're capable of, to what you have the potential and the power to become, and what you definitely can do in this world. So, no matter how big you're thinking, what's actually possible is 10x, 12x, 20x what your vision is. So, if that's the case, then this small ball that I've been playing most of my life, it's just, for me, I feel that I'm doing the big man a disservice by playing small ball.
Yep.
And I feel like, hey, he's given me these gifts and I'm not using them to my full capacity. I'm basically saying, hey, like, I appreciate it, but I can't, like, I'm only one person. How can I do that? I can't do any more than I'm already doing. Like, no, that's totally false.
Yep.
There's a meme going around, like, it has a house, a blueprint for a house, and it said your vision of life. And it has a mansion next to it, and it's God's vision for your life. And I think that's the way we all look at it. We have this vision of, our best life, that cliche saying that's going around, living your best life. We have this vision of what we think our best life would be, and it still pales in comparison to what the master plan really is. I actually re-listened to the book that literally saved my life this last week. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. And it talks about that in the book. One of the last chapters in the book is a warehouse of all man's unfulfilled promises, all his unfulfilled gifts that he didn't use. That scares the crap out of me. I'm not scared of dying. I'm scared of dying without using my gifts.
I'm a fan of Dr. Miles Monroe, and in one of his books, which really was I can't remember the name of it right off the top of the whole name, but he said the richest place on earth is not uh, the diamond mines of South Africa. It's not the uranium fields of Russia, of the Soviet Union. It's not the oil fields of Saudi Arabia. The richest places of our society lies right down the street from us. It's our local cemeteries, because there are people in there that died with great potential that was never released. There are gifts in those graveyards. There are artists, there's musicians, there's bankers, there are billionaires and millionaires that never tapped into their potential and just died. That saved me. That was like an eye opener, saying, whatever you do, leave here empty. Leave here like a lemon squeezed out.
That's powerful. That's extremely powerful, and that's honestly how I try to live my life. And it can get exhausting at times. It can get overwhelming at times when you're thinking of that enormity.
Correct.
And you're thinking of the things in this world you want to accomplish, and even the things you want to accomplish, 10xing those. But I think it just boils down to every single day doing the best you can.
Correct.
Utilizing your gifts every single day on purpose. And one of the things that I am a big believer in is, once you find those gifts, living in those gifts every single day, living in those gifts to their capacity. And I think once we start living that way, we start realizing how much more power we really have. The only things that are hard to do are things we haven't done yet.
Correct.
Once we do those things we thought were hard, like, that really wasn't so bad. Yes, I had my trials, I had my tribulations. There was times where I wanted to quit. But looking back, I could have done so much more. And the reason we don't know what's around the next corner is because we haven't gone around the next corner yet. And I think there's a lot of fear that's crippling people right now. Fear of going and asking for a raise. Fear of taking that new job because of the comfort of their old job. Fear of leaving that broken relationship because they don't know what else is out there.
Correct.
Talk to me a minute about fear.
Man, fear is paralysis.
Yeah, it is.
And fear is paralysis. And, I like when I'm talking to especially people of a Christian faith and people in our church, I say you can't be afraid. Fear is First of all, it's paralysis, but it's a disservice to God. The Bible clearly says God does not give us a spirit of fear, but He gives us a spirit of but He gives us a sound mind. So when we are paralyzed, it's like a person that's suffering from paralysis. They can't reach, they can't go. They can only do what they can do. So now they have to figure out life. They maybe can't use their legs, can't use their upper bodies, can't use their arms or whatever. They have to figure out another way to do it, which caused them to be disabled in a sense. Not saying that I hate to use that example because I've saw a lot of people overcome paralysis. Even though they're paralyzed, but they're labeled disabled, which means you're not able to do. It's simplified. Right. So when I'm paralyzed, when I allow fear in and I become paralyzed, I really disable my potential. I'm not able to do the things that I've been created to do. So what fear does, fear causes you to not look at your true self, but fear causes you to look at your inability to be who you were created to be. So fear is a danger, especially in the life of a believer.
Right.
Especially in the life of a believer, because you talked about vision a minute ago, and you gave the example of you have this house, and then you got this blueprint of this big old house that God has for you. And I was just talking to someone a minute ago, and I heard this said, if we can afford our vision, then our vision is too small. If I can finance my own vision for my life, then my vision is too small. And I really believe what fear does, fear causes you to think, man, I can't afford to do this.
Right.
I can't afford to do this. And what ends up happening is you end up finding yourself in a hole that you can't get yourself out of, that was never there. You end up digging a hole for yourself. It's like an ostrich. That hole that's in the ground that the ostrich head is in is not for the ostrich. Why? Why is the hole not for the ostrich? Because the ostrich's head is way up here.
Right.
It just leveled itself downward. It placed itself on a level, and could now not only did it come down, but it blinded itself. And the ostrich is a powerful beast.
Right.
One of the most powerful beasts on our planet. But because it dumbed himself down, you was waiting on that word, huh? It dumbed himself down and stuck its head in a hole. It paralyzed itself, and now it can't use its limbs and use the things that it was created for.
Which further exposes it to harm.
To harm. Now what he was supposed to be eating now can eat him up.
Mm-hmm. And instead of using his God-given gifts to run like the wind, now he's just standing with his butt up in the air saying, hey come get you a big bite.
Yeah. Take that.
Oh, man, that's a great analogy, and that's exactly what fear is.
Yeah, that's fear.
Yeah, I mean, I know I've let fear stop me in the past, and once again, when we go back to this, my fear was based in me not knowing my own value.
Correct. And that's what most of it is.
It is 100%. Yeah. It's not knowing you have the power to do what you're scared of doing. And anytime I've wanted to, like this guy that I'm training right now, I'm getting him ready to do some like serious heli-skiing, which is getting dropped out of a helicopter down a mountain. And I've never trained anybody for skiing before. I've trained, football, runners, CrossFitters. Like I've worked with a lot of different athletes. We don't live in a cold climate down here in South Mississippi. I haven't trained a lot of skiers. And I'm like, okay, well, how am I going to really get him ready for this? And I'm like, bro, it's athletics. Like, you can do this. Go do some research on some ski-specific movements and see where we need to strengthen him at. Don't let fear stop you from taking on this challenge.
Google, how can I train a skier?
Right? What muscles do skiers use the most? Okay, let's train those. Yeah. And, it was just me almost like having a split-second devalue of myself where that fear kicked in. And I'm like, bro, it's athleticism. You know how to train athletes. But even so many times, like the first time I stepped on stage, look, I host a podcast. I clearly can have a conversation. The first time I stepped on stage, I was so nervous about doing that. But then I started doing it. Now I'm like, okay, where's my mic at? Give me the mic. I'm ready to roll. Like, just give me a topic and let me run. And, because I know that's my opportunity to live in my purpose. Correct. And that's my opportunity to use my gifts for the service of others.
Correct.
And for me personally, my overcoming my fears is me understanding that my purpose is bigger than me. It's, yes, I still get nervous about stepping on stage or doing something like this. I still get nervous about being on camera or whatever. But all I have to start thinking about is why I'm doing it. I'm doing this to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And if by us doing this podcast today, it helps one person out there,
It's enough.
it's worth doing it.
That's more than we're deserving of.
Exactly. That's more than two guys are sitting here having a conversation are deserving of. So that's where my motivation comes from to overcome my fear. Is I stop thinking about I and me, and start thinking about him and them. The gifts I get from him now have to go in service of them, and that's how I'm able to get past these sticking points in my head.
Correct.
So let me ask you this: what would you say is your purpose?
My purpose is to connect with people to help the transformation of their lives. To connect with people in the assistance and transformation of their lives. Simple as that.
I love it. And that's what you're doing.
That's it. Just connect with people and assist. I don't have to have this drawn out business plan.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
You know, a lot of us, we get so think, oh, it's this broad. No, it's simple. It's simple. Mine is simple. To connect with people and assist them with helping transform their lives. All while doing that, guess who life I'm transforming to?
Your own. Your own.
I'm better because of this today.
Oh, amen.
I'm better because I'm able to sit right here inside this studio and talk to this guy right here. I'm better. I'm better because of this today. Because it lets me know that I still have purpose on my life. And it lets me know that because when I leave here today, somebody's going to try to devalue me.
Mm-hmm.
But I just came here and conquered the world today, at least today. And tomorrow may be a whole nother story. The process can start all over again. You know, but right now, today, I'm helped because I'm on here and somebody else is going to be helped.
And the beautiful thing about what you're doing right now is living in that purpose of serving others. Mm-hmm. Of course, it's going to elevate you. And one of the ways it's going to elevate you is going to constantly challenge you. Mm-hmm. When you're in the people business, people are difficult. It's a tough business. Like you said earlier, ministry is a tough business because you're in the people business. So what it's doing for you is it's constantly challenging you to be better. So once again, full circle, we're coming back to this marriage of personal growth and your faith. And every day you're walking in this blend of those two. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I want to acknowledge you for that.
Appreciate you.
And you know, you've honestly been a source of inspiration in my life since I've gotten to know you, because you know, when I think about doing something, I'm like, you know, JK walks it, he talks it, he believes it, he goes for it. He lives life with a decided heart. He knows in his heart what his purpose is, and he's not scared to go do it. Yeah, I know he's battling his own fears and insecurities along the way, but he still goes and does it. Yeah. And that's been a source of inspiration to me over the last year of getting to know you, is I see how much you're doing. I see how much you're helping people, and how one of the beautiful things I love about what you're doing is you're bringing in so many different kinds of people and people from different backgrounds for this greater purpose. Yeah. And that's been a source of inspiration too.
Correct.
And, you know, you walk around, you're colorblind, you're business blind, you're blinded to the people, you know, their labels and their titles, yet you're focused on your purpose of serving the greater good. And you don't care who they are. If they're on that mission and they're on that purpose, come on board. Let's go. I've seen it in your community events. I've seen it in the way you have your church and the way you do things there. I've seen it. So I want to acknowledge you.
Appreciate it, man.
In that. That's a special characteristic you have.
Appreciate it. I just want to please God, make my family proud, and leave a legacy that my family can be proud of. You know, this is it, man. And all while helping people. I'm not trying to get rich. If that's what God brings me, then I'll receive it. I'm not trying to build a mega church. If that's what God brings me, I receive it. But that's not my intention. My intention is to please Him, help the people around me, and live a legacy, build a legacy that my family can be proud of. I just want to. He tells Abram, I'm going to make your name great. I just want to have a great name, not for me, but that my family can be proud of. That my grandparents and great grandparents can look down and say, "Hey, our name still got. Our name has value."
Mm-hmm.
Simple as that.
I love asking, like, one of the final questions I always ask people in wrapping up is, what's your definition of happiness? But I think you just answered it.
Yeah, that's my definition of happiness. My definition of happiness. I don't have to have all the money in the world. Would I like some of it? Yes.
Absolutely.
Because I got a lot I want to do.
I ain't gonna turn it down.
But am I out there pursuing just money? No, man. I'm pursuing this purpose. That God may be pleased, that people may be helped, and a legacy may be built for my family.
Right.
Speaking of legacy, man, I used to have a dream. Didn't know why I was having this dream until the last few years. I used to have a dream when I was a child. And I used to always see this family. You know how on kingdoms and castles and stuff that they had this family crest?
Mm-hmm.
I used to always have this dream of a family crest. And I didn't understand then, but I understand now that I'm the carrier of that family crest. I'm the carrier of that legacy. And if that legacy is going to grow, that legacy is going to be exposed. It's going to first be grown and exposed through me. But I didn't see that then.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a dream. So I like to tell young kids now, man, and I like to tell people in general, man, never despise your dreams because it can always come back. It can always bless you. It can always be there. It can be there for you. So these last couple of years of my life, man, has been phenomenal. Phenomenal. Something that I never even wanted, something I never even cared about. But if what's going on now is any view of my future looks bright.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. I'm so happy.
This is just the start. This future looks bright, and I'm happy too. And I'm happy, and I tell people this: never be afraid to surround yourself with great people. And I'm happy to be surrounded with people like Robby D'Angelo, great man, got a lot going for himself. I don't even believe he has tapped in his potential yet, but a lot of good things ahead of him. Surround yourself with the right people. There's a lot of people that we have connections to that we're not afraid of. Surround yourself with the right people that adds value to, not just for them to add value to them, but to learn something from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna end with this because I know you were closing. I remember back in November, I shared with Robby one of my themes for 2019. For things for the church is going vertical. It was going vertical. And Robby questioned. He questioned. He sent me a reply and questioned it because of the concept behind going vertical. And I received it, and I understand where he was coming from. However, I had to give him my thought process behind it because he thought the perspective I was looking at it was to disenfranchise those around me. It wasn't that. But I appreciate that because real friends will tell you what they think and how they feel. And I've never had a chance to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you this publicly. I appreciate that you showed me that you wasn't just around just to be around, but you were going to tell me how you felt. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man. That's honestly been one of my missions to myself lately is to be more like real and honest with people.
Yeah.
And because you know where it's coming from. It ain't coming to put you down. It's coming to build you up. And
we're still going vertical now. But
I know. Definitely still going vertical. But that was why. It's like, hey, look, I'm going to give you some constructive criticism because like me looking at it from the outside looking in, this is my first thought. Yeah. And I want to give you that feedback.
Correct. And I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, guys, that's going to wrap up today's show. If you're still listening, thank you so much for tuning in today. Where can people go to follow your journey?
Man, you can go to any of my social media links. My Facebook is Jakavious Pickett. That's Jakavious Pickett, Pickett. That's my Facebook. My Instagram is @JKPickett, @JKPickett. If you want to follow our ministries, you can go to www.praisetemplebiloxi.com, and you can connect with our social media pages there through our social media link.
Love it. Guys, go follow this man. He's on an amazing journey. Please help him, help us improve this community and this world we live in. That is the mission, guys. That is the mission, is make everyone around us better. But as always, if you'd like to support this podcast, please go support Rise Up Health Initiative, where we are promoting mental health in the schools. Always got to give this plug, guys. The merch store is up and running. So please go purchase Biohack to Life merchandise. There's a lot of cool shirts in there that I've put up there with some cool sayings. And finally, last but not least, forgot to do this in the intro, but I'll definitely hit him up in the outro. I want to thank our sponsor that makes all this possible, Neolife Physical Therapy in D'Iberville, Mississippi, guys. An amazing physical therapy clinic that's cutting edge. They actually care about people. It's where I go to get all my work done, and I am extremely picky about who's me working on these broken joints of mine. I completely have full faith in what they're doing and their mission, and it's just an incredible addition to the Mississippi Gulf Coast, and they're actually helping people get healthy, which I love doing in a holistic approach. So, guys, Neolife PT in D'Iberville, please go support those guys. That is our sponsor for right now. That's it, guys. Thank you so much for listening today. We love you. Thank you for your support. And as always, please go love, serve, and change the world. Bye, guys.